to start coming towards my direction. And it will be either coming from this direction, coming this from the south, coming this one nice and slow. He end up stopping right in front, about two blocks away from me.
I was sleeping and he woke me up. It was about 3:30 in the morning, and he said, "You have to come and look at these lights." And
come here, it's okay. Let me spirit.
Automatically looked up to see this. All I can describe this huge Mexican house. It was stationary, this thing.
Like a sleep paralysis that you get. You can't move, you're frozen, you can yell all you want. Your partner could be right next to you, your wife, and they can hear you, but you see something what's going on.
I was inside of a ship about 18 feet in diameter.
things started happening immediately, almost.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Alien Strand Podcast. I'm your host, Don Ledesma, and welcome to today's show. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one, man. Well, I've done some changes. I made a couple of changes around here, as you can see. It's got a sign there. So, I just been kind of moving some things around, and I got me a new desk, so I had to move some things around, and I couldn't get this thing going, man, for about 10 minutes, but I actually got it going. Right now we're having little issues with my special guest, Mr. Don Rogers, was going to come on for a small segment, and he keeps on kicking in and out for some reason. I don't know if it's on his end or my end, but we'll figure it out. Hopefully we can get him on here shortly, as soon as we get going with the show. Now, I hope you guys caught the last show of last week. For you guys that are watching on YouTube right now, you guys can actually comment right here on this side right there. You can comment, and your comments will come out there. If you got a question, you can come on in. I'll look through it, and I'll try to do the best I can to answer them as we go, right? And even Rumble, if you comment on Rumble, it'll pop up there on X, everything like that. The only one that won't do it for some reason is Facebook. I don't know why, but YouTube will do it. All the other ones, Twitch, everything. But when your comments are on Facebook, it just won't pop up here. I can see them on my phone, right, when they come through. I'll just try to look through them as I'm going. All right. But I hope you guys really enjoyed last week's podcast that I did on beasts and clones. All right. So, I did talk about, the Bigfoot, of course, which is actually, I love that creature, because he's very mysterious. And we ended up talking about that for a little bit. And, we got a lot of information there. And then I got to show you some really, really cool videos and photos and everything like that has to do with that, it's just how intriguing it is for Bigfoot to just go in and out like he does. And people don't know who he is or where it comes from. But we were kind of putting two and two together, right? As far as the creature could be part of a, maybe from another world, as like we are ourselves. Maybe, right? Maybe. I'm just speculating. I'm speculating. Don't crucify me. But anyway, those were some it was a really nice podcast. Had a lot of people join in, as it is here today. And we're going to talk about today about the awakening, right? So that and that's what happens between you and when you make contact with an extraterrestrial or a UFO. What happens to you right here, right? And this is the part that I'm talking about, right? And it's something that we're going to dive really really deep, right? And we're just going to kind of see how well we can get this information out to you guys. And if it's happened to you, hey, let me know right there in the comments, wherever. Let me know if you've experienced an awakening. An awakening is something that when you experience like I said, contact. And it doesn't necessarily have to be you have to be right in front of the UFO or the extraterrestrial, but even it could be at a distance away. But as long as it knows that you are communicating with it, because you are the antenna, like I always say, right? And so we're gonna explore a little bit into the human mind, right, in the spirit, just a little bit, right, and to the contact of the UFOs, extraterrestrial intelligence, right, of what it could possibly be, right. But even if it doesn't happen to you, it doesn't have to happen to you that way. As far as like the awakening, some people are actually born with it, right, and they have the third eye, like they talk about, they can see things beyond other things, like Mr. MB Man, when we were talking yesterday, how he can go to different places, right, subconsciously, right, and remember what astral projection, right. He can do that and travel to different places, even inside of ships. And we have a really nice podcast with him as well on there about that. But I want to show you a little bit of what I mean by the awakening and what it means to other people as well. So let me see if I can find this video here real quick. Oh, okay. So this is a very famous person here, and they explain how the awakening happens to people, or how it can uh just get you going, right, in just life and society itself, and just being around people and noticing things that you've never noticed before. But just check this out. Here we go.
And I suddenly got it. I understood suddenly how thought was just an illusory thing. And how thought is responsible for, if not all, most of the suffering we experience. And then I suddenly felt like I was looking at these thoughts from another perspective. And I wondered, who is it that's aware that I'm thinking? And suddenly I was thrown into this expansive, amazing feeling of freedom from myself, from my problems. I saw that I was bigger than what I do. I was bigger than my body. I was everything and everyone. I was no longer a fragment of the universe. I was the universe. And ever since that day, I've been trying to get back there. It comes and it goes. It's like riding a wave. Sometimes I'm on, sometimes I'm off. But at least I know where I want to go. And that I want to take as many people with me as I possibly can, because the feeling is amazing.
Yeah, the feeling is amazing. I can relate to that, to where he says you're connected to the universe, right, and how consciousness the reality of consciousness, because we live in consciousness, right? That we're awake, or we're seeing everything around us. But he explains it beautifully, really, in reality, towards the end, saying, "I want to take as many people as I can with me," because he wants you to join him in that state of mind, really, in reality, right? And that's how I feel too. So it's I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but that that little speech right there validates a lot of things of having your own awakening moments, right? And he's not necessarily talking about UFOs or anything like that, but in that sense, you learn to appreciate when somebody can share that same open consciousness and awakening, even though you're not connected to ufology or anything like that. It's just being a part of the universe, right? Because that's what we are, right? And we try to connect with everything and everyone, right? Because we are connected in different kinds of frequencies. And that's what happens when you see extraterrestrials or you experience an extraterrestrial. That's exactly what happens too. You make that connection, and for some reason, I don't know how or what, but something happens here and in here to where it opens up for you and you see things a whole lot differently uh than you did before, really, reality, because that's exactly what happened to me this at the same time, right? And I'm not saying that it happened in that moment, but it was baby steps through life as a teenager up to now, that the more I saw these extraterrestrial craft, the more I was more in tune with the earth and everything around me and everyone around me. Remember when I said that one podcast, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, I know when somebody's feeding me full of crap, right? And I think it was an audio podcast. It's like, when somebody's telling you the truth and when somebody's lying to you. It's just, it is what it is. We have that connection to where you know who's true and who's not. So that's what the awakening does to a lot of folks, right? And it does do that as well, and it's hard to explain sometimes to people, but I mean, I thought that video that I shared right there, uh, he did a beautiful job of explaining of how that happens, right? Hopefully, I see Mr. Don Rogers there. I see you there, brother. We're trying to get you in and out. So,
Yes.
oh, I hear him. All right. So I have Mr. Don Rogers right now. We're going to get him on right now. We have a small segment for you guys, and we're just talking about the awakening. I don't know if you heard a little bit of that. I know you were having a hard time trying to connect, but at least we were talking about the awakening moments and how the contact and everything has to do with consciousness and the universe, right?
Yeah.
What is your take on? Do you believe, or do you think that the planetary alignment had something to do with more people kind of waking up, in a sense? Like, will you see more people interacting with ufology and extraterrestrials?
I do actually think that that does have a lot to do with it, and of course, I'm using my phone and can't get to my notes now. But like, I really do believe because like I've personally had some bizarre experiences during a lunar eclipse that involved my wife, my son, and I. Like we all woke up at the exact same time, and it basically sounded like the roof of our house was peeled off like a Ziploc container. And then we all woke up with like this oxygen taste in our mouth. And for about 30 seconds, I was basically speaking in tongues, and it just sounded like gibberish. I was like, blah, 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 blah. And my wife looks at me and goes, "Are you all right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, what?" And she's like, "That wasn't English." Right.
Right.
So that's just, and William, our son, who was like 16 at the time, woke up at the exact same time. We all heard something, right?
Hmm.
And it was during a planetary alignment. Well, it was a lunar eclipse. And like I do know like there's a lot to this astrology. Now it's not a subject I went really deep on,
Right.
but I think that there is definitely some type of alignment because my personal opinion, and this is just my current understanding, is like a lot of our consciousness comes from a higher stream of self, right?
Right.
And I think that there has to be a lot in alignment, not just universally, but within the self. Like myself, like before my spiritual awakening started, even I was just a Joe 9 to 5. Like I smoked cigarettes, I drank beer, I pharmaceuticals, all the garbage food. And when I started to clean things up. It was actually about 2 months after I quit smoking cigarettes that
Right.
my spiritual awakening kicked off, right?
Wow.
I believe that a lot of it is a lot of this stuff is like a cognitive disconnect, and it's not our mental cognition, it's our spiritual cognition, right?
Right.
We are disconnected by this pollution that allows us to connect to that higher stage of consciousness,
Wow.
right?
Yeah. Yeah, so it's, I mean, just like you said, the cigarettes, and once you quit that, things started opening up for you a little bit more. And we're and it's true. It's like when we drink alcohol, or even a lot of our foods are have that blocking mechanism, and in your conscious, and in a sense to where it clouds a lot of things. And then once you quit eating all that crap and you start eating pretty good, like all your greens and nothing but water. You stay off the booze for a little bit, even the cigarettes. You start seeing things a little bit more clearly and openly. Um, do you believe that sometimes even fasting helps the body recover, and just kind of rejuvenate, or get into more contact with yourself, with the earth, right? With the frequencies, with the ETs or whatever. Do you think that maybe fasting helps as well?
I absolutely do. I've had a number of guests on my show. Uh, oh, I just forgot her name. Vicky Joy Anderson.
Uh-huh.
She's a well-read author, and she actually talks a lot about parasitic cleansing and fasting and all of those things, because even internal parasites will help with the disconnect or cause the disconnect,
Right.
right? And it's something that I actually went in and did research a bit, and I think it's after 48 hours, your body starts to eat its diseased tissue and basically starts to heal itself and will
Right.
expel all
Right.
of these things. So when you're in pristine physical health, the connection is much clearer. Like, you work with a lot of electrical in your line of work. So if you were to imagine like a frayed wire versus a well insulated copper wire that, there's absolutely no interference, no EMF with, that's basically what it is that you're clearing out of yourself, is all of that distortion,
Right.
right? Because I've never gotten more than 48 hours in, but I've heard of people going a week, and like you start to clear everything energetically and physically out of yourself, like, and it I know people that do it almost monthly and in collaboration with the moon, like, a guest that I've had on a bunch of times, Frank Castle. He swears by doing like a monthly fast and parasite cleanse right on a certain cycle of the moon,
Right.
and he is one of the most connected people I know. So
Wow. So, I mean, and speaking of the moon and stuff like that, since I got you on right now, I was going to have a segment here on. Let me see if I can find it here. Okay, so this person, I'm gonna put this up. I don't know if you could see it from your phone or through your TV or whatever, but are you watching on YouTube or anything like that?
I just on my phone.
Okay. So, if you can see this, but this person was filming these flares, right? They were coming off the solar flare here recently. It says here, I shared the video of solar flashes that was taken Saturday, February 28th, 2026, which I was guided that by my main guide, Juno, right? The light, a body of light, like a Palladian, I believe. This is in Spanish, but it was translated into English, so that's why it kind of sounds a little weird. But it
Yeah.
says here it is in the human suit. So many these people amongst us have two companions, benevolent hybrids. Uh, so they're talking about the Galactic Federation, things like that. That these solar flashes that they were actually catching on their camera. And I'm going to show them to you just here in a second. But I just want you to know that came from this person that was actually. Uh, that videotaped the actual solar flash. And I'm going to show you the solar flash. I don't think there's any sound to it, but and there it is right there. So these are the solar flashes that are coming off of their camera. Uh, and I wanted to kind of get you with this because in conjunction with the planetary alignment, the frequencies of everything, and plus what happens to us during ET contact, right? And this person is saying that they have sort of an ET contact. Now, if you can see that flash of that sun, it's actually reflecting off the the water. So,
Yeah.
and that's the strangeness of that. What do you think about that?
There's a couple of ways that I would go with that. The one that I went down a rabbit hole on is the whole artificial sun thing, but I'm going to keep it under the understanding that that's the natural sun. And having talked to several plasma physicists, one of the things that I found out is that, again, everything is frequency, and even the photonic signals that hit us here on Earth have a frequency to them, right?
Right.
If you often you'll hear birds sing in the morning, there's certain birds that if you measure the sun's photons as they come into our atmosphere, they are the
Right.
exact same frequency of certain bird songs,
Wow.
right?
Wow.
They universally align on that frequency. So I think what that might be is somebody had a sensitive enough camera to catch the actual frequency pulse of the sun.
Yeah.
Now, if I go the other way and put my tinfoil hat on, I also know because I did a show on light spectrum and stuff and the harmful effects of some of the sun on vegetation lately. And I don't know if anybody else has noticed, but the sun seems very white lately a lot.
Right.
Well, if you do a quick Google search, you'll find out that every continent, at least one country on this entire planet, has a patent for artificial sun technology.
Wow.
Now, here's where it gets really crazy. Well, most of us know that the magnetic North Pole is not at the North Pole anymore, which means
Right.
it is moved. It's actually closer to Siberia right now. So if you think about that, the whole pull of the Earth has shifted that to that extent, which basically puts at, to my understanding, would put us at a different angle of receiving the light's trajectory.
Right.
And humans are in groups, very, very panicky animals, and the government, thinking they're doing what's best, may have implemented an artificial sun in order to like make up the time that we've lost so we don't notice that our days are no longer the same length because the earth has shifted and they don't want us to know. That's
Right.
the tinfoil hat version of it. But
Wow. I mean, and just what's happening here, we don't see that with the naked eye, right? It's just hard to see. I believe, like I said, those, like you said, it's the frequencies that are coming through, and we talked about this before, like the delta frequency, it's deep sleep, right? 0.05 to 4 hertz, and then the theta. It's from used for meditation. This is 4 through 8 hertz, and then we have the alpha, which is 8 through 12 hertz. It's for relaxed and awareness, right? And the gamma, 30 through 100 hertz, right? This is for a higher consciousness. I had a podcast about this, not on Patreon, and I explained how there was a chart that showed the very highest part of consciousness, and how it relates to us, and how some people are more intuitive and have better frequencies, and where they can catch stuff like that. I mean, what is your take on the frequencies as far as with the human realm? In other words, to where it pulls us in to when once we see an extraterrestrial, right, or we see a UFO, things happen inside of you, right, or inside of your psyche in different areas to where you're starting to see and just see things differently. Um, do you know a lot of people that happens to?
absolutely. And I often ask this on my show is like, what was that burning bush, the catalyst moment that really puts you on the awakening path? Like I said, for myself, I had a experience that, to properly explain this, I'll do it quickly. Time isn't linear, it's everything all at once. I started to get memories of events that don't happen for another 174 years in a super soldier program. I was
Right.
getting actual bleed through for that. So the fact that we can tune into different variations of our consciousness, I believe, is completely plausible because through things like breathing and meditation, I've actually brought back information from other stages of my conscious existence that isn't this one. And how that happened is another podcaster asked me if I thought this was a holographic reality.
Right.
One of the things that I do quite often when I need to figure something out and get clarity is I will get into that theta state. I've done enough research that I can almost do self hypnosis and I'll meditate on things. And a lot of times my consciousness or subconscious or another version of myself, I'll wake up and understand the answers and have no idea where I got the information.
Right.
When I did that about the holographic reality thing, I woke up with a rudimentary understanding of quantum physics and knew where to look for everything to write an explanation paper that actually properly explains how this is a biomolecular reality, and we're actually the frequency projectors that create it in real time,
Okay, now
right?
now stop right there. When you say frequencies, the projectors of real time, right? So I'm going to show you something real quick since we're right here on this subject, and luckily I have this video. This video shows how humans, our human hands, human touch, how it can make things better over
Mhm.
time, right? You know how they say how the human touch, when somebody touches your shoulder or whatever, it's a feeling of comfort, right? So what if you can do that with a plant or a tree or anything like that, right? And because we carry the frequencies, and the trees and the earth and everything resonates with us at the same time, right? So let me show you this video. Don, stay there, and then let's talk about this real quick. So in this video, it says this is what happens when you hold onto a tree and never let go as it keeps growing. This guy made a cast mold of his hand, right? And his name is Gillespie, who created it. Will continue to grow except for the point of the cast of his hand around the trunk of the tree, and then leaving it alone. Once over time, the tree grew freely and in every direction where the hand once pressed, preserving a single permanent reaction there. In other words, so he noticed that at first because the hand was there, and then it started growing, I guess, and then after due time, it kind of grew around it. Which plants usually do, right? But do you believe, like in our sound of our voices, our touch of our hands, things like that around trees, plants, even animals, even human beings? Do you believe that that is a part of the connection with the frequencies as we are connected together?
Oh, absolutely. Like I know it's there's studies that show like how you behave with your plants in your house, like it will affect their growth, right? Right there. And like my animals alone, like I have three huskies, and the youngest one will actually answer syllabically. Like, of course, you can't understand what he's saying, but
Right.
if you ask him something, 9 times out of 10, he gives you the right amount of syllables for what you would expect the answer to be. And it's like,
Yeah.
he has no idea I can't understand him, but
Right.
he tries to talk back. And it's all about the tone. And I'll be like, hey, Bucky, what do you want? Blah, 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 blah. And
Right.
it's like, yeah, I didn't understand a damn word you just said. Like, it's your accent. You're Siberian. I don't get it. But
Right.
like, there is a connection, and it really is like, and it is about the frequency you project with your words too. I had a very difficult boss to work for, and I found out the way his behavioral patterns make him the happiest, like what makes him feel important, and it was a simple shift in just the way I spoke to him,
Right.
and it changed our entire relationship. And my job is great, even though I run a septic truck, right?
Yeah.
I could not ask for an easier job or an easier employer to work for. And it really went to the point from where I was going to quit to figuring out, okay, all I have to do is change the way I talk to this guy.
Right. Right.
And it was that simple shift in behavior that changed my own reality and his.
Wow. And Cindy's watching right now. Thank you for watching, Cindy. And Mr. John Dickinson, my favorite person in the whole world, too. He says, my mother had the touch, could rub warts off. Wow. Wow, that's cool. And it's strange how you're right now, John. Don, I'm sorry. You're talking about how your voice, the sound of your voice can just calm people down. My mom used to be so nervous, and then when I would go over there and go visit her, she said, "Man, every time after I talk to you, I feel so calm now." She goes, "I don't know what it is about your voice or what it is, but I feel very calm after we have conversations." And I'm like, "Well, I don't know. Maybe it's just something that I have, or something that helps. They helped." I say, "Well, if it helps you, well, then we'll keep talking, right?" So, yeah. I mean, I get that part, that what you're saying there, how the voice, a human voice, is can be soothing as well.
Well, even on a scientific level, like whether it's your voice or your touch, right? Your voice projects sound, which is frequency itself. And
Right.
physically, we project photons out of our body because we're actually part light too. Like we have a measurable amount of light that comes off the humans. And given your emotional frequency, that actually changes the amount of photonic energy you project out. Now,
Right.
if you understand that this is a biomolecular construct that we're currently living in, held together by frequency and density, when you're projecting the more positive energy out, you affect every molecule that you're coming in contact with,
Right.
right? So you give what you get, what you give, right?
Right.
If you're I'm not saying go around like a moron smiling all the time singing to people,
Right.
but like if you come at things from a positive mindset and just project your true authentic joy of the experience that you're having in this reality, most times your reality will come out joyful.
Wow.
It's
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like they say, you say positive things, project positive things, and you'll have a positive outcome, right? You know, if you say, "Man, I don't think I'm going to do that today," it's not going to happen. If you say, "I'm going to get this done today," it's going to happen, right?
uh,
So it's like you project your own future in a sense too. Once you set it in motion, it's out there, right? And when your
it-
voice does that, right, to the universe as well. So, you know, and that's the strange thing about humanness and just consciousness, really, in reality, right?
oh, this is I'm going to steal from Jim Morrison here, but this is the strangest life I've ever known.
Right. Well, all right, Mr. Don Rogers, thank you for being on the show today. Thank you for just giving some insights on everything that happened to you, and as far as your the consciousness and what you have experienced as well. Waking up like you said, and then just seeing different things and seeing things in a different way, or just hearing just you and your whole family experience that. So, where can people find you?
I am on March 4th production or Don Rogers at March 4th Productions on YouTube and Rumble. I always forget to mention this. I'm also on the Forbidden Knowledge Network on all podcast platforms, so you can find me under their banner as well. And if you want to chat or pick my brain, just don't be weirder than me. I'm on Facebook too, and I really don't have a problem talking to people. So
Right on. All right. Well, I threw you a plug right there for your everybody. Go check out Mr. Don Rogers there. Look for that. This is the Facebook. I mean, I'm sorry. This is the YouTube. Go check that out. Go visit him and go visit all his podcasts. Again, thank you, sir. Thank you for being on the program, man. I love you, man. Thank you for being who you are. I love your family. Tell them the middle four is coming out here soon, so you will be the first one who get it. Right.
awesome. And just one more thing before I go, I am making a digital cartoon and you are the star of an upcoming episode and that will be out in 2 weeks.
Right on. I can't wait to see it, man. I saw just a little piece of it and it actually looks pretty good. I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. So, yeah. All right. Well, as soon as it comes out, let me know and we'll throw these folks out there so they can go see it and I'll share it everywhere. I appreciate you, Mr. Don Rogers.
All right.
All right, guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed just a little episode here with Mr. Don Rogers. He explained a lot of good stuff. That we talked about how these solar flashes, frequencies, things like that. But what if the connection is a little different, right? And we were just talking about how the ETs and how it relates to he was talking about the sun and how they made different patents out there. Now check this out. And this had to do a lot with what he said. Now, before I do go there, it says, hey guys, okay, somebody's out there. Mr. John Dickinson. All right. If you like this podcast, man, give me thumbs up, man. Give me some hearts. Give me everything on Facebook, everything on YouTube. Click the bell, subscribe, really, or subscribe to Rumble, YouTube, everything. And anyway, check this out. You're going to freak out. This is from 1954, I believe. Let's check it out.
I said, where are you from? He said, I'm from your planet that your Bible calls the morning and the evening star. I said, Venus? He said, yes, the inside of Venus. I said, how did you get here? He said, I came in a saucer craft which is called Victor 1. I said, what is your name? He said, Commander Valiant Thor. He said, you call me Val. I said, thank you. And how long have you been here? 3.5 years, this coming March 16th of 1960. And what have you been doing here? He said, I've been conversing with the President of the United States, Dwight D. Eisenhower, and Mr. Nixon, who I met personally some years afterward, and several members of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. He said, I brought a gift for them. And this gift was in my hands, and I looked into the eyes of Mr. Eisenhower. I said, this information will do away with sickness, disease, and even death in the United States, and then you can share it with other nations. Gave it to the President. President Eisenhower received this information. It took them over 1 year to get back to the commander. He was their guest for 3 years at the Pentagon. And 1 year later, the President came back, met with the commander again, with this information in his hands, shaking his head. He said, I'm sorry, we cannot accept this information because it will ruin the economy of the United States.
Yeah. Ain't that a shame? You know, if that even happened, that's a shame right there. Because that book was the cure for everything, and it would make us live and people wouldn't die. And, you know, if what he said was true, and it was all for greed, really. So this is why it's like, yeah, I don't know. You know, they talked about releasing more information on UFOs and the top secret stuff, and then you listen to this stuff. It's like, well, wait a minute, how much longer are they going to suppress this stuff, right? From us actually just digging in a little bit deeper into these extraterrestrials, right? You know, when we ask about them, things like that. And maybe they had they had things that would fix our energy problems, right, as well, back then. And they had everything, the answers to everything, but because of greed and money, stopped everything from going forward, right? So in other words, it kept everybody and everything under control, if you can kind of think about it that way, right? But it was an actual extraterrestrial that they had. It visited, I guess, maybe a human-looking one, maybe, right? And that's what kind of it gets me wondering if, you know, are they really gonna tell us anything, right? What are your thoughts? Do you think that Big Brother's going to tell us anything about extraterrestrials, you know, UFOs, crashes, anything that has happened in the past, anything like that? Do you think they would? I don't know, man. I don't know. There's been many people that have had encounters with extraterrestrials, and they have had believable stories. Famous people, you know, Travis Walton, you know, had that story as well. You know, Betty and Barney Hill, they had theirs in September 1961. It's a very famous story, and she said it over and over and over, right? And she claimed that beings showed up. And then she saw a star map. She drew it out. If you guys remember that, it's almost on every documentary that you see. You'll always see the Betty and Barney Hill story, because that one changed a lot of her thinking and their thinking in the near future, right? As they were growing older, right? They even had a reoccurring dream she talks about that had highlighted intuition. There you go, right? We're talking about the awakening here. Psychological transformation. So that's what happens to you during that time. And if you guys haven't heard her or seen her, I'm just going to show you a little bit video of her so that way you can see what she had to say about her little visitation. Well, it wasn't a little one. It was a big one because they got famous.
I got up to the door. I was not going to go in. So I socked him. You punched the entity.
Yeah. In fact, I put up such a battle that my dress is badly torn. And he said, you know, come on. All we want to do is some simple tests. And as soon as the tests are over, we'll take you back to your car and you'll be on your way.
Let's just go back to those type of entities. They were your classic alien, gray-shaped, cat-like. No, they weren't. Okay.
They're a form of human being.
They were a form of human being.
Right.
Did they have cat-like or Cheshire-like eyes?
They had larger eyes than ours, smaller nose, and smaller mouth. No protruding part of the ear and no hair. But they're people.
Nothing like these classic grays you see here at Whitley Street.
I don't know. I've never seen those. I don't know what they're talking about.
Sure, okay. There was a leader.
We gave them different names to identify him. Now, I don't know if he was a leader or the interpreter. But we called him the leader. And then there was the one who did the testing. We called him the examiner. There were 9 others who stayed out in the corridor, and we called them the crew members.
Yeah, love that, right? And I just love watching things from the past because it just gives you a lot more information. Sometimes, we miss a lot of that. Marisol says they won't tell us everything. She's talking about the government. John says they already are bleeding it into the society. They have no choice. They've made that deal in the 1950s. I think the deadline to come clean. I think it's time for the deadline to come clean. Maybe, as we were talking about the extraterrestrials, right? And the government, just them hiding things. Now, I saw this picture float up here of an extraterrestrial, and somebody said it was, it's kind of hard to, when they say Antarctica or the Arctic, because nobody's really allowed up there. But when they have those, those little notations and they're just it's kind of hard for me to believe it in a sense. But when I saw the being, it it looks real, but and it's hard to tell. But there was several shots of this extraterrestrial coming out of the water, mind you. This is in the ice coming up out of the water. Um, so check this out. Just look at this picture. So this is in the ice, as you can see it. It just kind of has this strange long face, it's like changing or morphing into a face of some sort, right? And that's what caught my attention. It was just it just looks weird, but around it, there's ice everywhere, right? And now these days, it's kind of hard to tell from AI, but as you look at the photo, most AI are not going to give you that rounded fisheye look. Fisheye comes from a small, tiny camera that somebody was carrying, maybe on their jacket, shirt, or something, and it has the real small lens, and it'll give you that fisheye look, right? Which kind of looks like you're on another planet or another world or things like that, right? So here's another image of what the skin looks like, right? A little slimy and mushy, kind of looks kind of gross, to tell you the truth. Uh, so that's what these pictures came out of, and there was, as it's getting up now. I've seen videos of actual before AI came out. There was a couple of actual videos of an ETs that they had this glowing coming out of their chest, like a red glow of some sort. This one has like a little bluish or purplish color, but it's in their chest, right? And that's what caught my attention because most of the times when you see an extraterrestrial or a picture or an AI, it's not going to have that glow. Uh, there's some sort of a light that's connected to their chest area or whatever. But and look at the face; it just looks so weird, and it could be a certain kind of fish or something that takes the look of a human being, right? But it just has so strange looking, right? Um, John Dickinson, when the ice melts, all will be known. Yeah, I believe so. People are running out of the waking. The visitors can telepathically communicate with us. I think that's mighty soul. And I'm just showing you these things because as if you can only imagine the the consciousness opening up while you're in front of these things, right? Just to actually be in front of an extraterrestrial is just strange enough as it is, but just to be in front of one, you can actually absorb, or it can absorb you in a sense. I'm talking about your consciousness, and it transfers information, almost like what we call a download, right? And this is what happens to a lot of people. They get this automatic download of information. I mean, look at Mr. Don Rogers. I mean, look at this intelligent man. You know, he's talking these big. And he told me before, I never talked like this. I didn't know anything like this. And look at him now. He is like on fire, right? And because something happened to him as well, right? And these are the the things that I question during consciousness and during the awakening, right? And this is why we're talking about this, right? You have high awareness of grace, which we have vivid dreams, and then you have a sense of cosmic purpose when these things happen to you, right? Um, and some people, like they say, they can disappear for 4 or 5 days, come back, and they're a changed person, right? And this is, I'm going to show you this. This is a really, really cool photo. Somebody got this up in the sky, like way up in the sky. Now, I'm going to put two and two together here, and you guys help me out just for a minute, right? Because this is what I'm seeing. Now, if you're looking at this craft, it's looking more and more like a winged shaped craft in a sense, right? Kind of wing shaped. Mr. Johnny Ball. Yeah, I'm going to show some of your stuff here in a minute, sir. Thank you for being on the show, just for watching and being out there. He says, correct. That's a correct one. He says those those images are incredible. He says, wow. Maricel says, wow. Now, this is the clearest picture that these UFOs are up in the clouds. And you have to have a really, really nice camera, like Mr. Anibal has a P1000, you know, and you can shoot up to 10 miles, 5 to 10 miles up and over the clouds. I'm not saying this is not his photo, this is somebody else's, but they happen to catch a really good photo. And this is not AI manipulated. I believe, no, it's not AI manipulated in any shape or form, right? These are the images that people are starting to grab now. They're starting to connect. They're starting to get these now. But this is what I'm gonna put together for you here tonight, and I want you guys to understand what we're doing here, right? We're not just talking about open consciousness and awareness and the awakening. We're talking about these crafts and everything as well, how we're all connected, right? So, Mr. Anibal is out there right now. He's watching on YouTube, I believe. So he has this P1000 camera, right? And it's a Nikon. You can get way above the clouds, right? He catches this image way up there, right? This is one of his. I saw this the other day and it blew me away. And the only reason I'm putting this in this podcast today is because it's going to make sense here in a minute. So he gets this one photo, and this is way up in the clouds, right? It's taking shape, right? But then watch the next photo. You see the shape of that? Now it's got wings, and you're talking 5-10 miles up in the clouds, right? Birds don't go that high. It's too cold. There's no way they're going to be up that high. Now that, if you look to the left of it, at the very tip of it, it has a cockpit. It looks like a cockpit shape, right? And look at the shape of this craft. Look at the shape of this craft. So it's almost like it's pointing down, but the very end has a wide tail, like a fin of some sort, right? And this is just the coincidences of these photos and how it's coming together and what I'm trying to do here. Now, if you look at this picture, imagine it, just hold that thought, right? Hold that thought or that picture. And then I am going to show you another photo, right? Of the actual accidental crash in Roswell. There were accidental photos. Now you remember that? Remember that image? Okay. Now this is the the craft that's crashed. It's pointing down. There's a fin towards the end. This is the crater, the impact. At the very front of that is a cockpit. right? There's a cockpit at the very front of that. So in other words, on the bottom right, it's kind of, and then when you see all the blue, that's the fins, and they just colorized it so you can see what the shape that this craft was in, right? Saw that? And of course, we have the extraterrestrial that was deceased. There on the very top right, you can see it. And this is off an accidental photo. Anibal says, that has to be the best shots. He goes, he's dedicated as they come. I bet his neck is strong. Yeah, from looking up all the time. Yeah. But if you saw that photo of how this craft was crashed, right? And then we're looking at these shapes. I was just pointing down. Now, and then Mr. Anibal's craft, but this one's shooting up, so it's going upwards. That is the strangeness of the connection of everything here. These are just recent shots. I think he just shot these photos, Mr. Anibal. That he lives in Pueblo, Pueblo, Colorado, and he does a lot of UFO. He's the master, man. He's the one that showed me how to do break a lot of these images down and see the electronic magnetic fields. He's the master teacher, man. So he's the master splinter of UFOs and ufology. That's the man, and he's on the fourth movie. As a matter of fact, once it comes out, you'll see him talk about his stories. But when I saw those images, I started putting two and two together. I said, man, that sure looks like that craft that crashed during Roswell, right? So, and which brings a lot of the attention to, of course, the Betty Hill, and then of course we heard the gentleman talk about Eisenhower and all the information that was hid from the American people, and not just the American people, just the world in general, right? Just the world in general. Um, we saw the solar flares, how they just were going in and out and adjusting with what this person was seeing. I want to show you to this again. These are they're this is here, and you may have seen these with a filter, but these are the flashes that are coming off the sun, and I've seen this before too, right? And it could be code. Like they said, it might be a code that's coming from another planet. But if that's the sun, hey, maybe it's the sun's flashes and flares that are coming and it's bringing in these frequencies, and how we're all, reciprocating all of it, right? And how we're all together. And the bottom line of all this is that the connection that you make once you have a visitor, right? The connection that you make. It doesn't necessarily have to be an extraterrestrial. It can just be a craft. It just can be a UFO. That's all you need, man. And once you make that connection, things change right here. And it doesn't make you crazy. Before they called us tinfoil hats, yada yada yada, blah blah blah. These guys are crazy. Everything else, let me show you this. I just love this video. Check this out. So, look at the size of this freaking UFO, man. It's like one of the best I've ever seen out there. I believe this is somewhere in Mexico. Look at the size of this craft compared to the mountain. It's not AI. This came out a long time ago. And it just shows you that these visitors come every day and from every parts of this planet. And they're visiting people and they're taking a few, right? They're showing us things we've never seen before, consciously and subconsciously, right? When you see them. These are the things that we take for granted sometimes, that like most people don't look up, man. That is the truth. Most people do not look up, and you miss so much when you don't look up. When we went to go shoot those films, me and my sons, both of them, we shot the first film. We were constantly looking up at the sky. We were constantly looking up at everything because, you know, we everything that we see, you see them around mountain areas, very hot spots, things like that, crater areas. A lot of these extraterrestrials, crafts, everything that we see are in those hot spots. Some people are connected, some people aren't. Okay. So we talked about that on a prior podcast about the CE5ing. You know, I feel, me personally, this is just me, my personal opinion, that if you're doing a CE5 session, things like that, I believe sometimes these UFOs or the interdimensional craft that you're seeing are connected to one solo person that's in that group, and you happen to be there and witness the event as it's unfolding in front of you, right? So, and this is an actual photo of a real being, by the way, but I'm just using this as context, right? As you being the connection around everything, around everyone, right? And they get to witness it with you, right? um and it's something that we always try to uh wrap our minds around, if why me kind of scenarios, right? I when I talk to a lot of my guests or people that want to come out and they want to talk about their experiences, they always have this why me feeling sometimes, right? Because these things, they just pick and choose whoever they're gonna contact. But remember, it's a lot of times you do have these vivid visions as well. You have psychic impressions, highlighted empathy, right? Precognitive dreams that can actually have the connection with the extraterrestrial, and as you are connected to them as one, right? In other words, you are one with them or with it, with the craft, right? And sometimes you're the chosen man. You're the one that they want. These little guys, right? You're the one that they want. So, and it's not your fault or anything like that, but sometimes people uh don't want these in their lives, but they happen to come across it, and once it's in your life, it's hard for you to dismiss it. In other words, once you see one, you can't unsee them anymore. It becomes like a veil has lifted from your eyes, in a sense. And this is how I see it. I'm just giving you what I'm feeling, right? Or what I've been through, or what my guests and everybody that I've interviewed, that's what I'm seeing, right? I'm seeing that this is what happens, and a veil gets lifted and they start seeing things in a different perspective, right? Uh, and it's not that uh, they're going to be smarter than you or anything. No, no, it's just having the intuitiveness that they want. They picked you for a reason sometimes, right? They pick you for the reason to maybe tell the world, or just for you to maybe better yourself or to see things as they really are, right? Talking like the subconscious, the conscious level, right? We've already seen it, how these dice and glasses, you can see craft, and you can't even find them anywhere, because if you do, you're going to see these guys, right? So, and some people don't want to be around it, some people do, but if you are connected, and if you can, if you are, I'm not going to say strong or weak. I'm not going to say it that way. I'm going to say you can just accept it as it is and just keep going with it, right? And just let just let it go. Just let it. Hey, all right. What do you want me to know? What do you want me to see? This is how I see it. This is how I accept it, right? So he says, I've had dreams of being chased by a 3-foot gray and aliens. This is Mr. Don Rogers. You know, and that's the strangeness of everything, right? Maybe it did happen to you, and you just playing it back in your subconscious, right? Of the Greys being around you, or them doing some kind of tests on you or anything like that. But everything that I'm bringing to the table, that I brought to the table today, it was just for something for you to think about, of how consciousness, the frequencies, the earth, the sun, the tree, what we just saw, you know, people in general, how a touch of a human being, how when you have the awakening, you feel more energetic. Really, it's like an aura. Your aura in your body has actually expanded and grown even more. it's like having the alpha and the omega, the touch, right? The touch of God, right? Having it around you, and your senses are more susceptible to everything around you. So you're more sensitive. Let's just put it to you that way. And that's the truth. And I don't know what these beings are, who they are, what they are. They're not all friendly. No, we know that. But I believe the ones that don't make contact, which is in a physical sense, that don't make the physical contact, in other words, in being in this kind of life form in front of you, these guys are scary. So I don't trust these, right? But if the craft is making contact with you at a distance, it stays at a distance, then maybe it's there for you for some reason, right? Maybe. It almost kind of reminds me of that film, to where he was in the third, fourth, fifth, sixth dimension, Interstellar. Remember that? And then he moved the watch and he moved things like that. Things were happening in the background where you couldn't see it at the time, but it was him actually doing it the whole time because he was locked into these dimensions, right? And he was able to go back and forth and see the future and the past because he was just moving in from place to place, but in the same dimension. Interstellar is a very, very unique, confusing film for some, but a lot of people did get it after a while because it made a lot of sense. And maybe what I'm trying to say here is maybe the craft, or maybe it's you in the future or in another life, or maybe something is telling you, hey, wake up. Come on. You can do this. Get going. You know what I mean? Stay positive. Stay focused. Let's go. And it's just coming around you to do that. Maybe. Hey, you never know. It's a speculation, right? So this is what Alien Strand Podcast does, man. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm going to have another guest coming on next week. I already talked to her. She's going to come on, and we're going to talk about the same thing, almost the connection with beings and humans. And she's a little bit more connected than anybody. I've been looking at her stuff or her material, and she'll be on the show next week. So stick around next Thursday. I'm doing these Thursday nights, 7:30 Central. If you really like this podcast, please give me a thumbs up, give me some hearts on Facebook and everything like that, on YouTube, Rumble. This Alien Strand Podcast is an informative podcast, right? I'm not here to make you believe. That's up to you to decide, right? I'm just showing you the evidence. That's it, right? And this is such a cool photo. This is such a cool photo, right? Of a UFO. Even Mr. Ronnie Boss, how we're putting two and two together, how we had the crash in Roswell. Man, everything just kind of comes to me. It's strange because once I started doing research on what I'm going to do as far as the podcast, I start going through, things start coming out for me. And I start putting two and two together automatically, boom, boom. And I'm like, oh, wow, how did that happen? How did that happen? You know what I mean? And I give it to you, right? So something is giving it to me so I can give to you, and to put it out there. So you guys can see exactly what a lot of us go through. A lot of people out there that are in the conscious, the subconscious, the awakening moments in life that have been awakened. And, it's something to spread around. We spread around love. We don't spread around hate. We love everybody, man. And like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed today's podcast. Look at that. 18 people on X. Thank you, man. Thank you. We have 3 on YouTube, 1 on Rumble, 1 on Twitch, and 1 on Facebook. But it's okay. I know there's more on Facebook. It just, Facebook just don't want to show me. It's okay. All right, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed today's podcast as much as I enjoyed giving you the information. Don't forget to catch us next Thursday night. We're going to be live again, and we're going to talk about some other good stuff, right? I'm going to show you a lot of more videos and photos, and, we'll just get an open conversation. And I love you guys that come to the chat. Mr. Ani Ball, Cindy, I think Regina was there. I'm not sure. Mr. Don Rogers, thank you again, sir, for being on the show today. I really appreciate you. I love you, man. And don't forget to show me when that video is coming up for yourself as well. All right. You guys have yourselves a good day. Have yourselves a good evening, and have yourselves a good night. See you later, alligator. Bye.
And Major Hector Quintanilla is now the chief of Project Blue Book. Major Quintanilla, what are the objectives of Project Blue Book?
As I'm standing there, I kind of, it's a very hard feeling to describe. Skinny arms, skinny legs, but I could only see about half of this thing.
It was just an eye-opening experience. There was a ship coming over the house.
It was like a white light sort of thing that we saw. It was coming out of a cloud,